God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you're all having a good week so far. We're about to make it to the weekend. Just hang in there. 2 videos and 1 more day stands between you and your freedom. Hang on tight. We will make it if I have anything to say about it. Title of this video: President Trump is not happening in a vacuum. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. There are 2 magazine articles that I want to comment for this video from The Week and Time magazine, in that order. And the claims made by these 2 individuals in their columns are, I read them and thought, maybe this would be true if the Trump administration was happening in a vacuum. It's not. And I'm going to explain why as we get into this video. But first of all, let me tell you what was written in the Week article. The headline: Democrats are totally blowing it. Author David Ferris, if you'd like to look up that article. One of Mr. Ferris's first claims is that Democrats should clean up in the midterms. And this is the kind of thing, this is one thing. It's not a big one, but it is still one. One of the things that I'm talking about when I say that this administration isn't happening in a vacuum. Why? Who says that Democrats should clean up in the midterms? Why is this true? Is it because that's the conventional wisdom? The out party cleans up in the midterms? Is it because of the polls? The polls aren't strong for Democrats. The polls always lean toward Democrats, and right now that's about all that they're doing, is leaning towards Democrats. So if all you're doing is what you're normally doing, it's not a good sign. Mr. Ferris points to some of the bad things that the Trump administration has done that means that the Democrats should clean up. For instance, he calls it the donor enrichment tax law. And he says that the donor enrichment tax law is a win for Democrats because the public doesn't like the law. Or at least they didn't like the law. They're liking it more now. They didn't like it at the time of passage. And I'm here to tell you that the public didn't like the tax bill at the time of passage because of lies like donor enrichment. The tax bill was not about donor enrichment. The tax bill was about energizing the economy, which is why such big tax breaks were given to businesses. Because who energizes the economy? All the spenders can only energize the economy in so much as they spend money on things. And they can't energize the economy if the money they spend has to go back into Washington's pockets. Now, under what circumstances would consumer-spent dollars go back into Washington's pockets? That would be if Washington was taking big chunks out of the businesses in terms of taxes. So if businesses are having to pay big chunks of tax money, then when the consumers spend more money, that increases the profit of the company, which increases the taxes they have to pay. So increasing consumer spending and doing nothing else in terms of tax breaks, energizing the economy, is only going to go so far. That's called demand-side economics. In demand-side economics, there's a reason that it doesn't have that name, and it's because it doesn't work. If it had the name demand-side economics, then it would work. People don't give disparaging names to things that don't work. Especially people on the left. So, supply-side economics is what it's called when you give tax breaks to the people that are providing goods and services. Demand-side economics is what happens when you give tax breaks to people that use goods and services. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? The difference is where you place the tax breaks. Now, a good, actually tax reduction bill would reduce the taxes on both the supply and the demand side of economics. so that the people, the consumers, had more money to go out and spend on things, and businesses had bigger profit margins that they could pass on to consumers in the forms of low prices, in the forms of raises for their employees, in forms like R&D for better products. That would be an excellent tax reform bill, one that we're probably never going to get, or at least not in the short term. But anyhow, it's not a donor enrichment tax law. Supply side economics is not donor enrichment. Donor enrichment is when you give tax breaks to the biggest 0.01% of businesses or individuals in the country. And that's not what happened with the quote-unquote donor enrichment tax law. All of businesses got a tax break. All of Americans got a tax break. There are only a few fringe Americans under the new tax law that didn't get a tax break. But anyhow, it was lies like that made the tax law unpopular. Mr. Farris says that the victories that Democrats won last year are indicators that they should be cleaning up in the midterms. He says that Democrats swept to huge victories in November of 2017. Now, I'm not sure what huge victories he's talking about. He could be talking about Alabama, and he cites Alabama, and Alabama stung. I will give you that. Alabama did not look good for Republicans. But what besides Alabama did the Democrats win that they really shouldn't have? Did they win Montana? No, they didn't win Montana. Did they win Georgia 6? No, they didn't win Georgia 6. Both of those were touted as the indicator. That was going to be the watershed moment when America demonstrated that we were sorry we had elected Trump and we wanted the Democrats back, and we didn't do it in either of those elections. In Alabama, we had what some have called the most scarred Republican running as the Senate candidate. You can say that was the reason why he lost. There are other reasons you can say why he lost. We've talked about that in previous videos. We had Pennsylvania, I think it was Pennsylvania 20, where the most mellow Democrat ran against what I've called well, not in these words, but the candidates that are trying to upstage Trump in being Trump. And I've pointed out that that's not working. People trying to upstage Trump and trying to be Trump, trying to claim Trump being more Trump than Trump. Those candidates are not working. I pointed to Alabama, I pointed to Pennsylvania, and I pointed most recently to Mr. Blankenship. I think that was in West Virginia. I don't recall exactly off the top of my head. Those candidates are not working. The candidates that are working are the candidates that are campaigning on conservative Republican values. And I heard rumors that Mr. Pennsylvania, I think it was Connor Lamb, whatever his name was, in Pennsylvania that won, campaigned on conservative values. So you could say that Democrats are not getting huge victories anywhere, not even in their own states. Mr. Farris talks about the government shutdown that happened earlier this year. He says party leaders panicked. And that was the budget battle where Democrats said we have to address DACA now, and it has to be in this spending bill. They shut down the government over it. And everybody on the Republican side, especially the president, was doing everything they could to hang the government shutdown on the Democrats. And I told you, leading up to that shutdown, conventional wisdom is that government shutdowns hurt Republicans, no matter what the circumstance. And that script got flipped, which is why Democrat leaders panicked. But it's this last line, that I think is the most ridiculous of Mr. Farris. I think it's indicative that Mr. Farris needs to watch something besides CNN for his news. He said that the status quo of policy has been largely untouched since 2016. Since late 2016, since Obama's presidency, the status quo of policies remained untouched. Really? Really, Mr. Ferris? You just talked about a tax cut that was passed that is not the tax law that you said it was. You failed to address the fact that unemployment has dropped to record lows. You failed to address the fact that regulation is being slashed across the board. You failed to address the fact that North Korea is kneeling before the pressure that is being brought by the United States and China. How is this the status quo? And I know what Mr. Ferris is thinking. He's thinking that rhetoric and policy and that sort of thing is the status quo. Americans don't, let me just tell you right now, normal Americans don't think of politics in terms of intent and in terms of rhetoric. Normal Americans, especially the Americans that are hit hardest by the failures of government, think about politics in terms of results. And nothing speaks results like bad numbers going down and good numbers going up. GDP's been going up, that's a good number. Unemployment's been going down, that's a bad number. Regulation's been going down, that's a bad number. The last paragraph that I want to touch on, and you can find this article fairly easily and read this whole paragraph. I'm just going to talk about a couple of excerpts that are indicative of the entire paragraph. But Mr. Ferris says that the tax law barely touches people. And I would just like to say, yeah, Mr. Ferris is right. Raises and tax relief is something that voters just flat don't notice. If you didn't notice the sarcasm dripping from my voice as I speak those words. Yeah, voters totally don't notice when they get tax breaks. Voters totally don't notice when their employers say Happy Tax Day as they're writing them bonus checks and giving them raises. Second line that is indicative of this paragraph, GOP is sabotaging Obamacare. Now, apparently Mr. Ferris doesn't realize that Obamacare was designed to fail. The GOP is trying to inject a little bit of life back into the health insurance marketplace. How can you say with such certainty that Obamacare was designed to fail? Because it was an anti-market health insurance bill. All of the big health insurance companies were on board with Obamacare. Why? Because Obamacare closed the states to interstate competition. If you're the biggest health insurer in your state, you no longer have to compete with people outside your state. That's enormous. Not only that, but Democrats were out saying that there were millions upon millions of people that didn't have health insurance. And you're a health insurance company and you're hearing that millions upon millions of people are going to be mandated by law to purchase your product. Let's imagine for a second that the government was going to pass a new Communications Act. Let's think of some brilliant, fluffy, frou-frou name that we can give to this act. Let's call it the Access to Information on Smartphones Act. And the Access to Information on Smartphones Act says that it's a human right that everybody should be able to access the internet on their smartphone. And by this act, all Americans are going to be mandated to purchase an iPhone or pay a fine. Do you not think that Apple would be all over that bill? Would be bending over saying, yes, please, would be taking whatever it took, would be doing whatever it took to get that bill passed. Because it was going to mandate that everybody that didn't have an iPhone was going to have to buy an iPhone. Of course, Apple would be on board with that bill. By the same token, of course the insurance companies were on board with Obamacare. Not because it was good policy for the insurance companies, because look at how many insurance companies have gone under or have gotten out of the exchanges or have stopped selling insurance since Obamacare was actually implemented. It was made law. When was it made law? 2009? And it wasn't implemented until 2012. What kind of bill is that? But of course, not because it was good for the insurance companies in terms of policy, but because it was good for insurance companies in the short term in terms of the bottom line. All of these people were going to get all of this money from government stimulus, from government supplements, from government subsidies, and from all the people that could afford to buy the health insurance. We're going to have to buy their product. Obamacare was designed to fail because it was not a free market solution to the problem. And the problem is not even really a problem. What's another thing that meant that Obamacare was designed to fail? Not only were you forced to buy the product, but people that couldn't afford the product were forced to buy the product. Not only were people that couldn't afford to buy the product forced to buy the product, the people that the product was not designed for were forced to buy the product. What does that mean? What is people that the product was not designed for? Health insurance. What does insurance mean? You look to the look to the Lisa Page, Peter Strzok text messages, and you'll know what an insurance policy is supposed to mean. Peter Strzok called the FBI's plan to thwart the Trump presidency insurance after Lisa Page told him there is no way on earth that Hillary Clinton loses this election. Peter Strzok said, "That's great, but I want insurance." So what is insurance? Insurance is protection from the improbable. Insurance means that you're getting something that's going to guarantee that you're not going to fall on hard times when hard times come your way. So insurance, health insurance then, is meant to be protection for you if the unthinkable happens and you enter into a health crisis. Health insurance is not there for people that are already in the midst of a health crisis. As cold-hearted as that may sound, people that are already embroiled in a health crisis are not the people that health insurance is designed for. Health insurance is designed for people that don't need it. As counterintuitive as it may seem, health insurance is designed for people that don't need health insurance. That's why the premiums can be so low. If you're a very healthy person and you don't need to draw on your health insurance, your premiums are really, really low. So that's another reason why Obamacare was designed to fail. And we could keep going. We could talk about how premiums have gone up by, at the most conservative estimates, 45% since 2012, 2014. But I don't think we have to. Obamacare was designed to fail. And I just don't want to talk about the rest of the week article. It just goes on being oblivious from there. And I don't think we even have to talk about the entirety of the Time magazine article. I can sum it up with a single sentence. The headline is not this long. I've shortened it. The headline is basically, Trump versus Mueller is a danger to democracy. The cover of Time magazine for where this article appeared, apparently, is of Trump looking in a mirror and seeing himself dressed in a king's attire with a crown and a cape, and he's looking down his nose at himself. And to sum up this article in a single sentence, it disregards everything in the Obama era that happened as far as administrative power grabs. The Time magazine article goes on to say that in attacking the special counsel investigation, Trump is a danger to the democracy. First of all, we're not a democracy, we're a representative republic with democratic elements. Second of all, the references to the Bill Clinton attacks on the Ken Starr investigation are somewhat flippant, in my opinion. It's almost like the author plurals of the Time magazine article don't care that Bill Clinton attacked Ken Starr almost, if not more savagely, than Trump has been attacking Robert Mueller. It's almost as if they don't care about and they talk about Trump and his team talking about his ability to pardon himself, as if Obama never once committed administrative overreach, which he did on multiple occasions. I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I don't need this legislature. That's an awful Obama impersonation, but the pen and the phone thing. That was Obama's declaration that he was throwing once and for all was throwing the Constitution out of the window, and he was going to do whatever he wanted, whatever he thought he could get away with. And by the same token, if your legacy can be established by the actions of the president and the president alone, then the next president can erase it all. And that's what's been happening, thank goodness, in the Trump administration. That's going to do it for this video. I hope that you all enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. If you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a single video. Make sure that you check back every weekday for a new report. You never know what shenanigans are going on over at YouTube. We just heard recently that they're going to start curating your subscription feed, so you might just have to bookmark this channel and check back to see when the new videos are coming out. I hope that this recent period of tribulation, or turbulence rather, that we've been going through as far as the upload schedule hasn't been too inconvenient for you all. It should be coming to an end early next week. So I thank you all for your patience as we deal with this. I thank you again for watching this video. Until next time, good night and God bless.